Hey guys, welcome back to Homestead Prepping and Survival. I want to cover a little bit of something that I hinted to on the last couple of videos, EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse. So they are produced by several different means. The most common way is solar flares from the sun or coronal mass ejections. EMCs. So basically what happens is and it has happened several times in the past, if you look up Carrington event, you will be able to read about it. But basically what happens is when one of those happens on the surface of the sun and it's aimed directly at planet Earth, which happens pretty often, more often than you would think it does, if it's large enough, it can actually cause electronic to fail here on the planet, especially the area that it's aimed at. So if it's aimed just right and it's a strong enough one, a Carrington size event, it could knock out anything that's not protected from the electronic magnetic pulse. So there are ways you can protect things. And I talked a video or two ago about communications, and I've got this mobile CB radio, and I've got this little handheld radio. So I just want to take a few minutes and show you how you can protect things and give you some ideas, kind of get your gears going on what to do so that this doesn't get fried if an EMP was to happen. But I also want to tell you some of the other ways that it could happen. So nuclear bombs, when they first started testing those back in the 60s or whatever it was, that one of the things they discovered was when the nuclear detonation happened, or the atomic detonation happened, it produced an electromagnetic pulse. And 800 miles away, when they tested one out in the ocean, it knocked out lights and things on the island of Hawaii, because that was a direct line of sight from where the detonation happened. So an EMP is a direct line of sight weapon. So it's a pulse of energy moving from wherever this starts to whatever it can see. So in a straight line, so if you can protect it from that burst of energy, like these, the computer circuit boards that are in these things, it's in your cars, it's in your cell phones, televisions, the power grid, everything nowadays has computer circuit boards in it. Well, if you think about it in the most simplest forms, and I'm trying to keep it very simple, but if you think about it in the most simplest form, this energy, this electricity traveled through space hundreds or thousands of miles. It's not very hard for it to jump an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch across the circuit board when it hits here and short out a circuit. Kind of like a bolt of lightning travels many, many miles from where it originates till it hits the ground. So the difference between that and an EMP is an EMP, you won't feel it. It's energy form traveling through the air. You're not going to see it, and it happens in a millisecond. So when that was to happen, and it, like I say, it has happened in the past. They've done testing on it. The United States government has done testing on it. I've actually got the book, and I meant to bring it in here so I can show it. But the United States government formed a commission to study the effects of an EMP and what our threat level was from it if it happened. It wasn't a pretty finding. Basically, in a nutshell, they determined that if the United States was hit by a major EMP and it knocked out the power grid, I'm talking about countrywide, within 12 months, 90% of the people in the United States would be dead. Within the second 12 months, half of the ones that are left would be dead. Not because of the EMP, but because of the effects from the EMP. Vehicles not running, power not being on, so you can't produce things like life-saving medication and all these medicines that people are taking to extend their life and keep them going longer than they would without them. But, you know, a lot of times people can't survive without electricity. We all use it. So here's a few ideas to maybe get your gears rolling to where you can save and protect some items that would help make life better after crap hits the fan. So I'm going to start with this little ham radio. So the first thing I would do, I would take this antenna off. And I'll show you what I've got here. If you look, see the inside? This is just a manila envelope with the padded air bubbles inside. And what I've done is I've taken this foil tape and I've completely covered this manila envelope on the outside. So anything that I put inside here, if electricity was to hit this metal foil, it's going to travel across it and around it rather than through it. The bubble tape on the inside protects everything that you put inside of it from touching the foil tape. That's very important. Everything that you're trying to protect cannot touch the metal that you're surrounding it with. That's how it's protected. So the bubble wrap inside these manila envelopes works really well at doing that. So for small things, you can take a little radio like that. I take scissors after I've covered this thing and I put what I want in there, and then I'm going to cut this off an inch or two longer than I really need it to be. And I'm going to seal it up to where everything inside is completely enclosed in that bubble wrap, which is completely enclosed by this foil tape. And something I also do, because I want to be able to get to what's in here, especially like this radio, I need to keep that battery changed out and charged. So I keep enough foil tape folded up to open, or when I open, and reseal this bag several times without me having to go find my foil tape wherever I've laid it down, or if I'm out. This I keep in there so that I've got a way to seal it back up. So this is one way that's very, very inexpensive. The foil tape at Lowe's or Home Depot runs about $15 to $20 less. The manila envelopes are only a couple of dollars and you get like 3 in a bundle. So it's just a little bit of time that you're taking to protect what's inside. So I actually keep this because it's so lightweight. I keep a weather radio or hand crank weather radio inside one of these in my get home bag. And that is because I can listen to the local broadcast, emergency stations, and I can listen to the weather, all of those things. It's protected, so no matter what happens, the emergency broadcast system hopefully would still be up, and I'll be able to listen to it. The other thing I do keep in one is that little ham radio, so that it's protected, so if an EMP was to hit. So I've seen a lot of videos over the years where people, especially in the prepping groups, talk about, well, take an ammo can. This big, it's actually a 30 cal, people call it a 50 cal ammo can. So, you know, take the ammo can, line the inside with something so that what's inside doesn't, you know, touch the metal can itself. And it's actually a very good idea. But I'm going to show you something. I use my ammo cans for ammo, okay? The can costs a whole lot more than what I'm fixing to show you. Use your ammo can for what it's intended. Get some ammo and put in there, okay? But here's something that a lot of people don't think about. Take a regular cardboard box. See this? I've completely covered this box with the foil tape. So then you get some bubble wrap or saran wrap, anything that you can line the inside this box with. Take CB radio, put it inside that box, cover it up in there so it can't touch this foil. And I do the same thing. I've got some tape in there. Seal this box up along all the edges, and what's in here is protected. So I've got a way to have communication after an EMP hits. So just a couple of quick ideas, guys. If you really put your mind to it, you can make an EMP-proof container out of a lot of things that most people wouldn't even think about. So this cardboard box would not be a good thing to store something in to protect it. But if you cover it with foil tape, tin foil is going to take a lot of Scotch tape. That's going to, it's just a pain in the butt. I know this costs a little bit more. Trust me, it's worth it. It's thicker than foil tape, and it's a whole lot easier to handle. An aluminum foil, and it's a whole lot easier to handle because it is in tape form and it seals. So in the HVAC or heating and air business, we actually use a tape that's wider. This roll of tape came from Lowe's. One of the negatives, when you peel it off, it likes to curl up. The tape we buy costs a little bit more as far as for work, but it does the job a lot better. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to kind of throw some ideas out there to show you how you can improvise and protect some things to make life better for you and your group or your family after crap hits the fan. And like I say, if you're covered for an EMP, as far as prepping, you're pretty much covered for everything else that could happen. Nuclear bomb, if it was to hit, a lot of people are going to die from the radiation. But if they set one off above the atmosphere, the radiation is going to be stopped by our atmosphere. It's not going to harm anybody. But that EMP pulse is coming straight down to the ground, and it's going to fry anything in its sight. So one medium-sized nuclear bomb set off 200 to 300 miles above the United States, and the entire United States electrical grid is gone. Most vehicles won't run. Your cell phones aren't going to work. All those things depend on circuit boards that are very fragile to an electromagnetic pulse. So if you want to do some research on it, look up the commission that the United States government came up with. I can't even remember the year. I've got the book in the living room. But look that up, read it. It's rather boring read if you don't like that kind of stuff, but it'll tell you exactly what they found. And, to think about, in the first 24 months, 95% of the people alive today will not be alive for one reason or the other, whether it's starvation, health conditions, bad guys, all not being prepped, starving to death, all, I know I said starving twice, but all those things add up to a catastrophe that our government is not capable of handling. And, I'll take these off for a second. Our government is not coming to save you. It's not their job. And even if it was their job, name one thing the United States government or any government has ever done for its citizens that they did better than the people did themselves. I could wait a year. It's not, you can't. There's nothing the government sticks their hand in they do better than people do for themselves. Period. They mess everything up. Get to prepping. Get to thinking outside the box. Store the things that you need stored. And be ready for when it happens, because it's going to happen again. Whether it's a Carrington event caused from the sun or from North Korea, who's threatened a dozen or more times in the last 5 years of setting off a nuclear bomb above our atmosphere and destroying the power grid in the United States. You've got to be ready for that. Think outside the box and come up with ways that's going to help you, your family, and your group survive when no one else can. So, 2 things I always tell you. Remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I. Y'all be safe.